Hollywood is the town that raised me. It's where my dreams became a reality, where I found my career, and where I built the person that you think you know. But it's also the place that traumatized me in a lot of ways. Hollywood is a place that can make you feel like the center of the universe one day and then completely worthless the next. In 2020, as I'm sure we all remember, the world shut down and we packed up our entire life and drove across the country to move to Tennessee. I went from a life totally driven by ambition in LA to a town where there was a church on every corner in the heart of the Bible Belt. And I felt like a total fish out of water. I spent months debating if I should just pack up again and run back to California. But then I looked at my kids and I realized that sometimes the most responsible choice for your family is also the choice that makes you feel most vulnerable. This quest for the perfect place to raise a family, or even just the perfect place to find ourselves, is a common theme for a lot of us. So today I want to talk about why I left Hollywood for good and how I am finally building a community in a place where I thought I would always feel like an outsider. I really hope I don't get canceled for this one. Not even canceled. I hope I don't get booed out of this state. So I have lived in Tennessee for just over 5 years now, which is wild to say. And I moved here from Los Angeles, California. And I have been asked many times why I left LA and why we moved to Tennessee. Never felt super comfortable giving the whole truth and nothing but the truth. People have really strong feelings about people from California moving to Tennessee. When you first get here, everybody is like, welcome, but don't California our Tennessee. I get it. Politics aside, all the gentrification that comes when people from these big cities start moving into these small towns, it shifts things, which makes me very cautious about just being overly respectful to people who are from here, as I think it's important for you to be when you move to a new place, when making the decision to move out here in the first place. It was all a very rushed decision on our part. It was quite impulsive. That led me to really questioning our decision years into the decision playing out. I'm the kind of person who goes on a trip and is like, I could see myself living here, and I start looking at real estate. I love the idea of picking everything up and just experimenting with somewhere new and seeing what, evolution of self that experience would bring. That is exciting to me. I up and moved my whole life from Canada to LA when I was 18 because of a job opportunity, 90210, and I never looked back. So before we talk about the Tennessee experience, let me just explain why we left LA. On paper, it was because the pandemic happened. We were just kind of cooped up in our house, looking around and starting to really evaluate our life out there. I'd been in LA for so long that I never really took the time to think about whether or not it was the right fit for me anymore. We lived in a cute little home in North Hollywood, but because we both worked from home, I do everything at home, as you know. I rarely leave my house. So space matters. And we knew we probably wanted to have at least one more kid. In LA, that one extra bedroom, it would jump you up to a crazy next price point. And then, probably greatly due to the pandemic and everything that was happening in LA at the time, our neighborhood in particular, I don't know, there was just violent crime happening everywhere. And I made the mistake of getting that stupid Citizen app, and I was just getting notified constantly. We were hearing gunshots constantly. And it was just that's literally on our doorstep. We can't deny that this is become an unsafe area for us to be. And I felt very vulnerable with a small child. Those were a lot of factors. But I think what really got me over the line is when the world shut down, everything became virtual. And I no longer felt like my chances for opportunity were significantly increased by simply living in LA. I was like, nothing's happening for me here anyway. I wake up every day in LA feeling like I expired, which is so sad that somebody in their 20s feels washed up. I just woke up every day being like, okay, another day in the life of a has-been. What am I going to do? Even friendship circles revolve around like, who is the most successful? Who is the most famous? We will just kiss the ass of whoever has the most money or the most power or the most fame. It becomes so normal that you don't even take stock of how that is impacting you on like a mental, emotional, spiritual level, but you feel like a lesser than human being, desperately awaiting the thing that will make you more worthy, more valuable to other people, from representation to employers to literally like peers and friends. And that is not at all what life is about. It is not what it should be about, and it certainly shouldn't be a reflection of how you measure your own self-worth as a human being. I was ready to go. I was ready to just wake up and not feel that way anymore. And I'm still like in some semblance of entertainment. Success is dictated by numbers, and that can still eat at you and your sense of self-worth. But outside of LA, the majority of people seem to care less. This isn't some magical, oh yeah, just leave LA and your mental health will be cured forever. But it was not a healthy environment for me. Because of the pandemic, we couldn't even travel back home to Canada or England to see our families, let alone uproot our entire life and start all over again in a new old country. When considering where else in America we might want to live, but we were like, well, we always thought Nashville was cool, so maybe we do that. And that was really it. Like, it was kind of like a close your eyes, finger on the map thing, except we picked it because we had been here. So it was an experiment. I had lived in LA for 13 years, since the age of 18. My entire adulthood transformation, my entire career, my entire sense of conscious identity was all established in Los Angeles. So it was very bittersweet to walk away. Off we went to Nashville, Tennessee. And boy, oh boy, I really did not grasp the culture shock that I was in store for. I knew that there were, people that wore cowboy hats and cowboy boots here, like for real, but that was kind of it. And then when we pulled up to our house and there were actual cows and horses, I was like, what the fuck have we done? We are not country kids. I'm from Toronto. My husband's from London. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? And then we pulled up at this house and it felt like home. It just felt like home. Like, I never dreamt of living in a house like this. Never. Because you're coming from the city. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're sharing walls. And if you're not, you could like spit on your neighbor's house from your front porch. Like, there's no space. I could walk around this house and just envision another kid, my kids becoming teenagers and running around. I could like see the memories of barbecuing on the deck and all of that stuff just like unfolding in my brain. And I was like, yes, like this is it. It was still pandemic-y times. And then I was pregnant, and then you have a newborn. So I didn't really like reemerge from my house to kind of interact with strangers and hopefully attempt to make friends until I'd already been living in Tennessee for like a year and a half. At that point, I definitely found it difficult to connect on a level that I like to connect with people on. I am a Scorpio. Our loyalty, our friendships, our love, they run it deep. We don't do surface level. We don't do small talk. It's really of no interest to me. Josh always says to me, not everybody needs to be your best friend. And I'm like, I kind of feel like they do though. Like, if I'm going to spend my time talking to people, I kind of want to really like them, and I kind of want to feel safe to be 100% myself with them. There were definitely a lot of fundamental things about the majority out here that I didn't realize would make me feel like such a minority for the first time in my life, which is obviously, transparently speaking, from a place of immense privilege. I didn't know how unearthing and unsettling that would feel. There is an undeniable lack of diversity in the town that I'm in, which is just outside of Nashville, comparatively to somewhere like Toronto, which is incredibly multicultural. And that's how I was raised. And then the other city we spent a lot of time in is London, and London is incredibly multicultural. So diversity is crucial. It's important, something that I want my kids raised around. I want them to grow up having respect and appreciation for all the different cultures that are out there. That is what makes the world such a beautiful place. So yeah, there were a lot of like awakenings where I was like, fuck, okay, whoa, how am I gonna make friends? How am I gonna be myself? I'm not one to bite my tongue. I can't just tune it out. Like, I'm not that person. I can't just like shut off my ear holes. Also, whilst wanting to be respectful of the fact that like I am a newcomer and I'm bringing a very different mentality to what is the norm with the majority out here. And it's not to say, oh, everybody's like this. Like, no, everybody's not like anything. We're all different people. But for me, like non-negotiables on a baseline, like human decency level, homophobia, bigotry, discrimination, racism, sexism, not gonna fly with me. If that rubs you the wrong way, yeah, we don't need to be friends. But I think we have been conditioned over the last 5 years to really divide ourselves. If you believe X, then you also must be like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And if you believe Z, then you must also be A, B, C, D, D. And I just don't think that that's correct. Again, we're all individual people. We all have far more in common than not. This experience of discomfort and feeling like a fish out of water almost pushed me away. Almost made me just want to pack it up because I was like, I'm just never going to make a friend here. So let me go back to California where my people are, where all of my friends are, and do that. When we were considering that, I looked at what life would feel like again for me internally going back to California, what it would look like practically for my family and my kids if we move back to California, and it just like didn't make sense. I don't think that that's going to feel better. I think I need to like pull up my big girl boots, do some real critical thinking here, make a responsible choice whilst finding a way to really not compromise my ethics and who I am and how I am while still not causing any kind of conflict, because I'm over the intense conflict. I do not think that division and hating other people and conflict with other people that don't tick all of the same boxes as you is in the favor of progress. I don't think it's in the favor of the world that I would like to see my kids grow up in. It's tricky. I feel like basic human instinct. Oh, you're different than me? Well, no, I don't like you then. Like, that's kind of the problem. I think it's actually finding ways to focus on the commonalities that we do have, sharing different perspectives with each other, being respectful of the perspectives that we have, learning more about why those perspectives exist so that we can hopefully like deconstruct a lot of these things that are so deeply internalized because we've all been socially conditioned to feel a type of way in one form or another. I'm a deep thinker and I'm really not a hater. I have quite a philosophical way of processing information and making decisions for myself and for my family. And so for my kids, I am very loud and very vocal about the moral compass that I would like them to function from in my home. We have a very open relationship. So if they come home saying something to me that they overheard at school that contradicts a lot of those beliefs, we can have that dialogue and that conversation. I know that this is a bubble that we're living in, and there's pros and cons. Again, it's a privilege to have privilege in this bubble, and I'm not ignorant to that at all. And it's something that morally, I still am like navigating a complex with. And I don't know that we'll stay here forever because I don't know that that will feel right forever. But my kids are very little right now. So safety and security feels paramount for them. Space to safely run and play outside and just be a kid a little bit longer is really important for me with them. I think when you grow up in a major city, you grow up a lot faster. And because of the internet, everybody's growing up a lot faster right now. So trying to preserve as much of those childhood years as possible is important to me. One of the big cons for me is a lack of diversity. And so we prioritize traveling, making sure that our kids are experiencing different cultures, seeing how big and vast the world is. It's the best that I've got right now. We opted to stay. And since then, it was like, if you build it, they will come mentality. If we remain true to who we are and show up authentically within our community in a way that is non confrontational, but invites people into our world that is quite different to the average person's world out here in this environment, maybe we will find our people. And like that, the stars just aligned. We became magnets for misfits. Like we've been collecting our little pack of weirdos for the last couple of years, and it feels so good. Just a hodgepodge of wonderful people that all, for one reason or another, typically left LA. Most of our friends, I think, lived in LA, New York, or Chicago, have found themselves out here raising families, doing the thing in a similar season of life to us, and clicking with us and making us feel like super safe and comfortable to be ourselves, and hopefully feel that reciprocated. And it's a beautiful thing. I really, really genuinely thought a few years ago that I would just never have friends out here. I still don't leave my house that often because I'm an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert, but I have wonderful friends who I really care for and I feel very seen by, and it's a really nice place to be. I'm very grateful for that. The moral of the story is give yourself permission to make impulsive decisions and figure it out as you go. I mean, it's worked out thus far for us. And if it didn't, then you just pivot again. Like that's what life is all about. Just remain true to who you are in that process. Trust that if you keep showing up as you, they will come. Your people will find you, but they cannot find you if you're hiding. And the second you start to throw your fucks out of the basket and just say, this is who I am, and put yourself out there, it's amazing how much you become like a magnet for the right people to find you. I'm an espresso gal myself, so I'm not trying to be anybody's cup of tea anyway. Please drop a comment below because I am reading everything. I am really looking to build a community with you, one honest, unapologetic story at a time. Like I said earlier, if you build it, they will come. And I am so, so glad that you are here. Until next week, you guys, thanks for joining me for another episode of Lost the Plot, and take care of yourself. See you next Sunday.